Once I reached 18, I was getting older and a bit more wiser.
I could get drugs, but I couldn't get food.
Turning 18 is a significant enough milestone for any teenager, but for those in the care system, it can be a daunting transition.
Whatever the trials of a disturbed childhood, this is the age at which they must start to look after themselves.
10 years ago, Newsnight met 4 teenagers about to make the move into adulthood. Now in their late 20s, what have their lives been like since leaving care?
I'm not the same person as I was when you last recorded.
This is Jareth. In the care of Leicester City Council from a young age, he spent time in foster placements and then a youth hostel. He was the first of the 4 to turn 18 and go it alone.
Good to see you again.
But he was offered some practice first.
Jareth was prepared for living independently in a special training flat.
The first weekend I was here at a party, it kind of went a bit reckless and wild.
When his care order ended, Jareth moved into a council flat.
Trying to pay bills, it is a lot harder than I thought it would be.
Well, this is my living room.
This is where Jareth is living now, no longer in Leicester, but not far away.
My kitchen is through here. My bedroom, but we won't go in that because that's like terrible, disgusting.
How long have you been here, Jareth?
2.5 years, nearly 3 years. Still got a lot of decorating to do.
Glass half empty, glass half full.
We last saw Jareth in 2010. We made 8 films across 16 months, which he used to watch with his mates.
We were all sat down, eating popcorn, smoking fags, smoking spliffs, and just waiting for it to come on.
How do you think you came across?
What, when you was recording from the beginning, I was a right dickhead.
He was certainly vibrant, but vulnerable.
What's the hardest thing about being taken into care?
Being taken away from the whole of your family.
And as much as Jareth appeared to open up during those interviews with us, there was, of course, much we didn't see.
Behind the scenes, I was taking drugs. I could get drugs whenever I wanted on tick, basically owing money for them, but I couldn't get money for food. So it was either drugs or don't eat. So I used to just get drugs.
Jareth says he started taking drugs when he was 16, but things were out of control by his early 20s.
I was spending over £1,000 to £2,000 every 2 days on drugs.
Where were you getting that money?
I can't really say that on camera because that's just like putting myself into prison for free.
The relationships young people in care have with their parents can be complicated.
Jareth was in touch with most of his family while in care, with one exception.
My dad I haven't seen since the age of 6. I'm actually going to try and find him. I want to find him before my 18th birthday.
It wasn't until Jareth was 22 that he met his father again. There was an initial nerve-wracking get-together, but later, Jareth went to stay with him to help kick his drug habit.
I stayed there for 6 months, got clean, and I've been clean for 4.5 years since.
Like all teenagers, the Jareth we met had ambitions.
Me, I'm going to be starting up my own business.
Really? That's how you see yourself, is it?
Yeah, with my own business, making a bit of cash here and there.
Statistics show the UK care system produces children who do far less well than their peers.
When we started filming with Jareth, he'd not long dropped out of college, blaming his struggle with dyslexia. Jareth is now on employment and support allowance. Although he's had jobs since leaving care, he says he can no longer work because of his mental health, something he used to share his concerns about.
I will admit I do have a source of depression.
Are you getting any help for the depression?
Not yet. I've not gone to the doctors about it yet because I'm trying to do it myself, trying to get through the depression myself, but at the moment it's getting to the point where it's getting too much for me.
Last year, a Barnardo study suggested that nearly half of England's care leavers may have mental health needs. Jareth has been receiving help for his.
I've been diagnosed with depression, drug psychosis, and at the minute they're testing me for ADHD.
Over the years, Jareth has struggled to hold relationships together, but used to draw particular support from a close friend. Then, one day, he didn't hear from him. Jareth called another friend to get help.
So I told my other friend to go back round, press the next door neighbour's buzzer, and they let him in, and then my other friend found him dead on his sofa. And I rang him, and he said he was dead. I thought it was a joke. And then I rang him again, and he was like, no, seriously, he's dead. And I ran from my house in Mount Sorrel to a bus stop that was like 10 minutes away. I ran that in 2 minutes just to get on the bus to go there to find out he was dead, and it just destroyed me.
He tells me his best friend had died from a cocaine overdose, combined with a heart problem. Jareth took it hard.
I wasn't functioning properly, I wasn't being healthy, I wasn't drinking, eating, bathing properly. I was just depressed.
Jareth says there's one thing that gets him through the dark days.
Where you got flies all from?
His children.
About these flies, they keep coming back for more.
Jareth has 3 by birth, each with a different ex-partner, and another he raised from a very young age. But currently, he only sees his son. We followed 4 teenagers for this series. There was Cass, who was under a care order but living with her father and stepmom. Her mother had other children who'd already been put up for adoption, and during the course of the series, Cass had to say goodbye to another.
This is the 4th time I've done this. You would have thought I'd get used to it by now, but it's just as bad as it was the first time.
And Cherish, who'd been in a stable foster placement since she was 9, which ended suddenly when she left to live with her boyfriend, Mikey.
I got chucked off college, but thing is, when I found out I got chucked off college, I made out to Tracy I was still going.
Cherish and Cass have decided not to be interviewed again, but both are doing well. Cherish still lives with Mikey, and they have 3 children together. And Cass is a single mum to a little boy.
I was probably carrying a lot of anger or frustration or having those unknown questions probably at the time.
This is Phil. After being taken into care when he was 10, he's familiar with change.
And he experienced a lot of it during the course of our series. When we first met him, he and his brother Frank were settled in a foster home with Denny and her husband, but there had already been issues, putting the placement at risk.
Phil was very, very angry. I've never seen Phil as angry as that. And he assaulted my husband.
When we returned only a few weeks later, the placement had broken down completely, and Phil was with another foster family. But his brother Frank had remained with Denny. They spent the rest of their time in care apart.
Phil was at college when he was called by his social worker and told he must move.
You just get used to it, really, moving around, so...
That's what your life's been like, is it?
Yeah.
Hit the target!
Despite the moving around, Phil always made the most of the opportunities that came his way.
No point in getting in trouble, just get through it and you'll have a good life.
Before long, he had 2 jobs and was living in his own flat.
Now I can tell you the flame's being carried by Phil Fuller.
One big success story played out in 2012. Thanks to his work with Leicester's Children in Care Council, Phil was nominated to carry the Olympic torch on the last leg of its Leicestershire tour. 20-year-old Phil, in care since he was 10, quite literally lit up the stage.
Wow.
It was fun, quite exciting. Nice to be showing some appreciation for some of the stuff I did back then.
This is the light room.
Phil spent a year at university and is now a care worker himself.
My title is a residential support worker. I work in a residential home looking after children and young people.
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I prefer the challenging kids more.
You prefer the challenging kids?
Yeah. something to work at.
Do you see any of your old self in any of them?
A few of them I've seen my old self. I just generally try to use what I think would have worked well for me and use that with them. Sometimes that's successful, sometimes it's not.
Phil's training and experience as a care worker gives him added insight into his own story. That includes the story we began with 10 years ago that saw the breakdown of Phil's foster placement with Denny.
I was probably carrying a lot of anger or frustration or having those unknown questions probably at the time. I think it took like a year, 18 months for me to probably pluck up the courage to go back up there and just go up there and spend time up there really, and obviously with Frank being still there, I think that kind of probably helped. They're more my family than my biological parents.
Mr. Know-it-all.
A home from home for the care leaver accustomed to moving from home to home. Phil now considers himself part of Denny's own support network, able to help out as she continues to foster other children. You said the questions you had at the time. Do you feel all your questions are answered now?
Probably mentally now and psychologically no, but I've been told obviously by Denny that I did go through that process. Answering those questions, I think I've just probably mentally blocked it out of my mind. So yeah, I'd probably say they have been answered, just I've just probably chosen not to remember and block it away and bury it.
Is that something you're content with at this stage in your life?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think you still carry any of that anger?
No. No.
I didn't think I was going to be alive, to be honest, because of how many drugs I was taking at the time. To make it to 27, that's a bonus for me. Now my goal's for 50.
Leaving care, I probably was well served because I've got to where I wanted to be and I lead a somewhat successful life.
Those who've been in the care system are a group with a particular stigma, one of statistics.
A group more likely than any other to end up living rough, without qualifications, even in prison.
But for many care leavers, their lives turn out well, and the help that's increasingly available once they turn 18 makes a real difference. It's an imperfect system, yes, but it can work.
And when it does, it's against steep odds.